And we are live. I want to apologize to everyone. We're having some major technical difficulties, and we finally got it figured out. And this is the joy of doing live streaming. So thank you for being so patient. For those of you just joining, this is episode 7 of Bowtie Certified. And this is where I follow people's journeys through their certifications and their success through higher learning. My name is Anthony Tsavelis, and I'm a technical trainer of all things Google Cloud. And you can find my certification prep courses on the at the link below, training.anthonyt.com. And yeah, today I have a special guest and a very dear friend of mine, Nabeel Sherif.
Hi, everybody. Glad to be with you today. And it's my bad on the technical difficulties. I had some computer issues.
Oh, don't worry about it. It's all good. It's all good. So, interesting story. Nab and I go way, way back. We're talking back to my fashion days before I even got into the tech industry. And so back when I was just getting into tech, I would go over to Nab's place. He was a neighbor of mine, and I would go over to his place, and all of his roommates had all this fancy computer gear, and I was in awe. There was like servers, and there was game consoles and computers, and they were all like networked together, and it was fantastic. I was like in my glory. So,
I do remember. I remember you were coming over, and you would be seeing the different projects that we were working on. And we had that little mini data center in the loft. And I remember you got more and more interested. And then one day, you showed up in the morning with your morning coffee and just said, "Okay, I want to do this. Where do I get started?" And I remember giving you a Linux distro, and I think that was the beginning of it. So
yeah, that was fun times. But we've grown so much during our career since then. And Nab, I wanted to let's start from the beginning. How did you get into the tech industry, and what made you decide that this was your path?
Well, it's kind of an interesting question to ask because I think I started off at a very early age, sort of being really into tech, and then I decided to go another route. And people are who they are. I eventually sort of found my way back to this thing that I just didn't realize that I loved. For me, I grew up sort of early adopting into tech. I remember my first computer was an Atari 400 with BASIC.
Wow.
I still have it, and it still works. And I still mess around with it sometimes. I'm trying to get my kid interested into it.
And probably worth a lot of money.
and I just sort of fell in love with programming. And as I got older, I knew that science and technology was the way I wanted to go. I ended up actually doing my undergraduate in bioscience. My undergraduate's in biochemistry. Because I thought that was the way I wanted to go. But eventually, I just found my way back to tech. I was doing increasingly more and more computer-based stuff in terms of the science I was doing. Mm-hmm. And then the internet boom sort of came along in the mid-90s. And I remember talking to a colleague of mine saying, I'm not really sure I really want to do research for the rest of my life. And he said to me, well, you're good at firewalls. You're good at networking. Why don't you come work with us? And that was really it. I came back to technology or to IT, and I just sort of realized that this was something that's always driven me, that I'm excited by it. And I think the lesson is, to some extent, do what you love. Find a way to make it useful, but do what you love.
That's a great message, Nav. Great message. So you said that you had gotten into tech as a more of a hobby, and then afterwards you came back to it. So what was your strategy to break back into the industry, or did you just happen to fall into it, or you knew the right people? What was it?
I think it was a matter of just diving in. Certainly, I was lucky. I got a head start. I was in another industry completely. And just due to having luck in terms of the people that I knew and the network that I had, I was able to very quickly find a job in tech. But I'm not going to fool anybody. It's not like I came in and became chief engineer. I was in tech support when I started off, but I loved what I was doing. And when you love what you do, it becomes a hobby as well as a job.
Yes.
And that was what allowed me to sort of excel. I just got interested. I remember sort of building. I was in tech as I was a kid, and then I spent years in bioscience. And I remember coming back to tech and starting to build my own first modern server, and just like having it all splayed out on the table and putting it all together, and starting that as my fundamentals. But that combination of not only understanding just infrastructure, but understanding networking, and then working from the ground up to see how these building blocks build something that's completely different than what you started with, right? That you couldn't have predicted from sticks of RAM and a CPU and a motherboard, that I could actually create a system that provides automation or provides intelligence or provides real value. You've got to find a way to be excited about the so what of what you're doing. The pieces are great. Every artist and every great technologist, when you talk to them, they don't talk about the vision of what they do. They tend to start about, well, this is the activities that I do, or here's the techniques that I use. And they get excited about that, but it's because it builds to something exciting along the way. And I think that's always sort of important to remember. If you can't get excited when you ask yourself the question, so what, about what you're doing?
Yes.
Then maybe you need to figure out a better answer.
I love your holistic approach with regards to tech. It's not necessarily about the tech itself, but it's more about what do you get out of it, and why are you doing, why are you working on the projects that you're working, or using the technology that you're using. And I find that that's an approach that not a lot of people do take. And I think that when you look at it from that perspective, it brings so much more questions to the table of why are you actually doing this?
So this is, and if you'll permit me to, maybe it's like a bit of a plug. This is one of the things that, when we designed the cloud program at U of T, when I created that program, one of the philosophies that I have, if I sort of, flippantly kind of say it sometimes, is, if you're here to learn about how to build a VMware cloud, or if you want to learn how to build OpenStack, or if you want to learn how to build an AWS landing zone strategy, I mean, we teach you those things in the course. We teach you some of those things. I can show you how to do that. But realistically speaking, I mean, honestly, YouTube can probably do a better and more up-to-date version of how to install OpenStack than I can at any time. So I'm going to teach you that stuff along the way, but I'm also going to teach you about what it means. As you move up your stack, as you pick your technologies, as you layer your infrastructure and your technologies together in your architecture, what does it mean you can do? What does it mean you can't do? What does it mean you need to be good at? What does it mean that you can probably slack off on a little? These are the things that really matter. It's again, it comes back kind of to the so what. Technology, like everything else we do, is really about achieving some sort of goal, and it's not technology for its own sake. So always think about that so what, and think about what it means to make decision X or decision Y, because technology drives outcomes just like everything else.
Wow. That's some really great words that actually touched me. It did. Touching back on education, how fond I am of education and higher learning. So, which is why I brought you on the show. What gaps do you think need to be covered for our future workforce in technology? Because I mean, you have a ton of people coming into your class every semester, and these students, they're so bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and ready to learn some more. They're looking for that je ne sais quoi, if you will. And so what do you think that needs to be covered for these people?
I think I've got sort of two different answers for this. I'm going to start by saying I remember reading an article a little while ago, and the headline of the article was that the future of work is not jobs, it's skills.
Mm.
I think anybody who lives in the modern workforce knows that they're probably not going to be in one place forever, and they're probably not going to be doing the same thing forever. So what really matters is finding skills, and that means a combination of both technology skills or hard skills and soft skills. And the further I get into my career, the more the soft skills matter, is what I found. It's a matter of being able to package up those skills in a way that you can deliver some sort of outcome or some sort of benefit that makes sense in every, in any sort of place. I tend to be a product manager. I tend to do product management work as my day job, aside from teaching at the school. And I do it for I've done it for a lot of different places, and I do it for a lot of different industries and a lot of different types of companies. And what it really comes down to is not that I know technology X or product Y. I do, but and I try to learn them along the way. But what I bring is sort of a methodology and a sensibility and a discipline that produces certain outcomes. So, from and it works both, in terms of how you reward yourself and how you actually deliver benefit to wherever you're working.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I produce a methodology, when I take a look at products in terms of doing them very holistically. A product is not a technology stack. It's everything that's wrapped around it. It's the experience that you go through. It's the way that you learn it, the way that you use it. That's the skill that I bring. I flesh out products and technology stacks into experiences. So all of you out there, you should be thinking about the skill that you have and what it brings. And if you can do that, then you're always going to be able to find a way to translate your skill into something useful to whatever challenge you're facing.
Agreed. I mean, there's just everyone has a specific set of skills, and I truly believe it doesn't matter what industry you go into, those skills will apply. Doesn't matter. People have unique skills. Doesn't matter who you talk to. Doesn't matter the person's age. Everyone has these specific set of skills that they're very good at. And I find that, speaking personally, coming from the fashion industry, I went into tech and people are like, well, what's the commonality there? And I tell them creativity, right?
Yeah.
Because, in technology, there's so many different ways that you can do things, but you have to open your mind and be creative to it. Same thing in fashion. There's a million different ways that you can design a pair of pants, but what makes it different, and that's where the creativity comes in.
I think that sort of talks to the second answer that I wanted to give, if I have another second to explain that, which is, that's from a skills and from an aptitude sort of perspective. I've talked about what you want to do and how you want to approach things and how you want to be able to comprehend or soft skill explain what you do, what your skill, how your skill delivers value. But from a technology perspective, from a concrete skills perspective, or even certifications, because I know you like to think about certifications sometimes. I think what the world is now looking for is people used to be looking for people who are very deeply skilled, the I people. And then for a while, people were looking for the broad people, the flat people. I think what people are now looking for is a T-shaped person. And it's not even a T-shaped person, it's a bunch of T's, but we want people out there. What people are looking for in terms of skill sets are people who have a broad base of skills, and then they've got some very deep cuts in certain specializations. For example, I think about myself, I'm got really broad skills in terms of sort of networking and infrastructure and understanding that low level of compute. I'm not a coder, but I do have very deep skills in understanding network automation. I have really deep skills in understanding how to translate DevOps methodology into actual operational methodology on the infrastructure and operations side. So I know a lot of stuff kind of well, and I know 2 or 3 things really well. And that's what people are really looking for these days.
Got it. And is that what you're seeing in the industry today? Like, I mean, when your students finish your course and they go out there and they're looking for either new jobs or they want to level up in their current environment or company. Is this something that you're hearing a lot?
Absolutely. And I find that most of my students, when they go on, learning is a lifelong journey, especially in IT where the pace of change is every 6 months.
Yeah. So
What I've sort of seen the successful students or the people that I've worked with do successfully is if they come to my course is probably the top of the T. We give a very broad understanding of cloud and cloud architecture and best practices and methodology around adopting cloud as a strategy. And we do so in a technology agnostic way. I touch on all sorts of different technologies, and I try not to pick my favorites, or at least I try not to show my favorites in class. That's the top of the T. Now, I give you a little bit of depth on certain categories, and depending on how far you go into the program or if you take some of the advanced courses, we get into some of those. But if you don't do that, what I found a lot of our more successful students do is they come and do the cloud program, and that gives them the breadth, and then they complement it either before or after the cloud program with some certifications that particularly appeal to them. Mm-hmm. Most people don't go out and do AWS and Azure and Google. You just don't do them all. But you learn about them all in the program. You get the top of the T. And then they'll pick the ones that make sense for them over the next 2-3 years and grow with that one. And then you become a T-shaped person. And I think those are the ones that have been able to, what you show is you can hit the ground running deeply with the technology, but you know other technologies well enough that you can apply that depth in other places. And that means you're adaptable and flexible. And in an industry like technology, where the pace of change is so fast, you got to be good at stuff now, but you got to show that you're going to continue to be good at stuff in the future.
Yeah, definitely. Now, touching a little bit on the future of education, where do you see that going? I mean, you've spent a lot of time in the classroom, and now that that things have changed in our world, and we're now doing things from webcams. How do you see the future of tech? And do you see? Because I know that there's U of T has got a great course in computer science where they teach fundamentals, and I truly believe the fundamentals are the core of what you need. But it's not. But just that alone is not getting our people, our future people in tech, ready for exactly what's happening out there now. So how do you see that moving forward?
Are you talking about the past year, Anthony, or are we just talking in general, or just how everything sort of moved home?
Yeah. Like, I mean, where do you see it 5-10 years from now?
5-10 years from now, I mean, one of the great things about cloud, and this is one of the things that sort of made it easy in this pandemic year. My course, the course, and I like to generally teach in person. There's an energy to it that's always fun. We've had to move everything online, and what I've learned is that online is not better or worse. It's different.
Yes.
In a world where we're all working from home, the nice thing about cloud and the nice thing about learning about stuff in cloud or learning about stuff in on-demand technology is that it's all available out there and it's on demand. And education is going to have to shift further along the way to learning by doing. The fact is, I can show a lot to people, whether they're in class or whether they're in my webcast, and teach them a lot about the basics and teach them a lot, actually, even about some very deep, specific stuff. But it's not in your bones until you do it.
Oh, amen, brother. Amen. And I'm sure that a lot of people out there in my audience would agree. Like I'm all about getting your hands dirty, getting right in there and doing stuff and building stuff and breaking stuff.
And that's the great thing about 2020 is that you can do that. You can spin
Mhm.
up an environment for a couple of minutes, try some stuff out. If it works, keep it for the weekend, see what happens. But it's just that easy. It's
Yeah.
just that easy.
So how do you see the rest of it going? Like, I mean, yes, we have these classes, these 4-year classes. Do you think that they're going to be condensed? Do you think that they're going to be broken up into separate modules, if you will?
I think my answer to that would actually be yes. I think what's going to happen is we're going to see both models. Different people learn in different ways. As a teacher, I figured that out along the way. And some people like that traditional method. They like that, you're going to do a course for a semester. We're going to spend a lot of time in both lectures and labs diving into things in a very traditional, sort of, Socratic method, pedagogical kind of way. That works for some people. I'm actually one of those people. There are a lot of people who learn only by doing, and theory really doesn't internalize for them. And I'll tell you, I'm somebody who learns in the traditional way, but again, it's not in my bones until I do it. One of the methodologies that I'm hoping to bring more and more into the class, especially as we move online and especially as I start to enhance more of the education that we do with self-guided supplements, is to move to that. In England, in medical school, they use the apprenticeship model for teaching medicine, and it's literally see one, do one, teach one. I
Hmm.
want to see more of that in education.
And do you think that it will be common soon, or do you think that um, only until people finally get sick of the old way will they disrupt the education industry and go ahead and do that?
I wouldn't put it quite so negatively, but yeah, it's going to take a while. People change slowly. Cultures change slowly, and the way that we teach changes slowly, and that's probably for a good reason. But the great thing is, in this new world, you're not going to have one option for how to learn. We've got a multimedia on-demand world that's supplemented with real people like me. And
Right.
however you want to consume your education. Cloud is great because it allows you to consume your IT however you want. Education is going to be consumable in different ways in the future. And I think that's a great thing.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Always going to have to learn and then do.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, when I talk about the education behind certifications, I talk about how yes, learning what you need to know for the certification is great, and passing the certification is great. But in order to really embed those theories and those concepts, you have to be able to apply it. You have to be able to do it. And if you can't do it, then what's the reason you're doing the certification? For glory? For because I mean, it'll get you through the door, but it won't get you the job.
Again, it comes back to that so what, right? Why are you doing this?
Love
What do you want to do with this along the way? And what I can tell you is it's a big world out there and we're in a growing industry. Whatever you want to do, if you can find a way to make it meaningful to people, you'll
Mhm.
get to do it.
Yeah. So what does the future look like for Nabeel Sherif?
I'm a simple guy, honestly. From a professional, from an academic perspective, I want to learn new stuff. I want to do cool stuff. I want people to notice, and then I want to repeat the process. So for me, cloud is great. I'm proud to have been, one of the people who sort of got early into this space in Canada and got early into educating people in this space in Canada.
Mhm.
And it's probably going to be something that sticks with me for the rest of my life. But as I sometimes say to a lot of my clients, when people move to cloud, they come for the cost savings, and usually they get them sometimes. But they actually stay for the revolution.
Mm,
It's the AI, it's the bots, it's the integration with other services. It's all the cool new stuff that you couldn't do before that's going to be really interesting. And that to me is, I think, where my future kind of lies. I've been spending 10 years, 15 years now teaching people about cloud, teaching people about dynamic infrastructure, teaching
mm,
people about the importance of network and understanding network around your infrastructure. I think it's going to be really exciting over the next 10 20 years to add a story to that about how analytics, how a world of data is going to change things, how moving from a world of programming if then else statements to asking data questions is going to change everything around us. It's an exciting time. So there's still a lot more for me to learn along the way, and I think there's a lot for everybody to learn along the way. That's what the future holds for me, and I'm excited to get there.
well, I'm glad that that you haven't stopped learning. It's kind of a mantra for me, anyways, where you can't stop learning, because as soon as you do, you become a relic, and especially in the technology industry, that matters.
Yeah.
I did it once. I got laid off from a job, and this is when I first got into cloud. And because being a Unix and Windows administrator, when I got laid off, I had only those skills to fall back on. And ever since I got into cloud, it was, constant education, constant learning. And it became almost habitual that, I had to learn. But after a while, you start to realize that the learnings are, you see the benefits, and it no longer becomes I have to. It becomes I want to.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
so go ahead.
And my advice to that would be surround yourself with people and things that motivate you to learn. I've got two really strong. Well, I've got a few really strong forces in my life. I've got a network of friends. Uh, Anthony, you know some of my friends who I'm talking about, and I include you in that group. People who get so excited about technology that it affects other people. I've got one particular friend, Anthony, you know how it is, our friend Matt. One of
Yes.
the things I've always loved about him is he'll find an esoteric technology that's 3, 4, 5 years out and gets so excited about it. And sometimes he's just barking up a tree. Sometimes he's right. But the amazing thing about it is it gets you excited about the future. And if you can stay young and stay excited about the future, then you're going to continue to want to learn. And that's what motivates a lifelong journey. The other factor for me is I'm a dad to a young coder, and I need to continue to look smarter than him for at least a few more years. So I got to keep answering his questions, and I got to stay ahead.
Yes, the future of tech. There you go. Got to keep them motivated. So Nab, if you could offer one piece of advice to others who are striving to either get into tech or to move up in their current organization, what would it be?
Can I give two pieces of advice?
Absolutely. The more advice, the better.
The main piece of advice is just go for it and don't give up. If you think that you need to find a new job to grow into your tech, or if you think you need to upgrade your skills, if you think you need to go get some education, just go for it. There's great free online resources. There's great courses like the ones that I do and the ones that Anthony do. I give the top of the tea. Anthony gives the bottom of the tea. Between us, you get a really sort of interesting story. Just go out and do it. If you have to find that job, or if you want to find a new job that leads you more directly into it, go out and find one. And it might take 2, 3 times longer than you think. In fact, it probably will. But just keep at it, and you'll find it. The other thing is take a look at where you are right now professionally speaking, and find a way to do what you want to do there. Find a way to leverage technology into your job. It doesn't matter what job it is. It doesn't matter what task it can be. You can find a way to leverage technology. I always laugh about an article I saw some years ago, and I'm not saying do this, but it was an article about a technology professional who, over 2 or 3 years, found a way to entirely script his job. He
Yeah.
worked from home. He worked from home, and he found a way to entirely script his job so that he could get his 40 hours of work done with about an hour a week of script editing. And he was getting his job done. And he eventually sort of confided in this blog post that, like, I've been doing this. I'm delivering what I'm supposed to, but morally, I'm not sure if that's okay. You know what? Good for you for the innovation. I think the only thing that he did wrong there was just not share this amazing innovation that he was doing with his employer. Just go out and do it. Do it. Find some place to do it if you can't do it right now. But I bet you anything, even where you are, you can find a way. You can find a way to automate anything. You can find a way to add AI or intelligence to anything. And I guarantee you, there's some task in your job or some task in your daily life that you're thinking, if only this one thing was just done for me. Go ahead and do it.
Totally agree. Totally agree. I mean, if there is yeah, some sort of way to to build on what you said, I always used to find ways to automate the things that I used to do that were mundane. I mean, that's basically, DevOps 101. You automate the things that you do often, so that you can worry about other things, the more important things. But I mean, back in the day, I had to worry about tape backups. I mean, come on. Let's just script it and move on.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Right. There's no need to have to manually do commands anymore. I mean, there will always be the case where manual needs to be done, but in a lot of cases, that mundane stuff, script it out, get it automated, and if you don't know how to do it, find help.
This is often what I refer to as IT janitor work. And I don't even mean janitor work in a bad way.
Yes.
And this is one of the appeals of cloud. When I say janitor work, I mean stuff that is important and stuff that needs to get done. But if you do it right, no one's ever going to notice. And inevitably, if and when it does go wrong, it's going to be on you. Who would want that work? Automate that work.
So true. Wasn't me. How many times have I heard that?
Absolutely.
So I'm going to, because I know we started a little bit late, but I wanted to open the floor to anyone in the audience. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. And
I'm glad to stick around. I'm glad to stick around a little longer. Apologies again for earlier.
No, it's all good. It's all good. We actually have one person asking, is there a way out of tech? How does one go about leaving the tech industry?
It depends where you want to go. And what does leaving the tech industry really mean? I mean, I think about myself. I don't have my hands in the machines anymore. I used to do a lot of sysadmin work. I was mostly a network operations type guy, to be honest. I'm not a great sysadmin. But I don't do any of that stuff anymore. I'm still in the tech industry, but I'm using a totally different skill set now. So is it about leaving tech? Is it about changing the skills you want to get into? I mean, I'd love to know leave to where, because that might actually help me answer the question a little better.
I don't know.
If it's a like I said, it's a matter of skills. If you're one of those T-shaped people and you don't like the T that you're in, well, you can find another T to develop, and that's all about learning. Or maybe you want to do something completely different. Maybe you want to be a screenwriter. Just go for it. Just go for it and leverage your experience and your knowledge from before, because that's what will make it different.
I mean, there's always going to be the stuff that you don't love in your regular job. I mean, like you, Nab, I don't enjoy coding. I can do it. I can do it well, but I don't enjoy it, which is why I love to teach. This is my passion. This is something that I do, and I can leverage what I don't like doing into what I do love doing. So it's all about taking those negatives and turning them into positives, and finding what it is that that you really want to do. It doesn't have to be in a different industry. It can be in the same industry, just at a different level, if you will.
So Jay, maybe what I'd say is, like I said, the future of work isn't jobs, it's skills. What skills do you want to use?
Mm. Yeah, because I mean, for me, sitting behind a desk all day is not exactly appealing to me. I love dealing with people. I love talking to people. I love having conversations, even if it is on Slack. It's just taking what you love and applying it to your current job. It's all it is, and I think it can be done with any job.
I agree.
So, yeah, hearing some stuff in the comments. It's not what you know, it's who you know. There's always people more about something than you. That's so true. I mean,
100%.
you
That's
can
what
always.
I mean by, sorry, go ahead, Anthony. That's what I mean by surrounding yourself with a network of, people who are excited about that stuff. Anthony's excitement about technology that I don't know about drives my excitement. I think I get him excited about other stuff. Um, and yeah, it's who you know that can help you grow, but it's also who you know who can help you reach. And that can sound opportunistic. It can sound like networking. I'm not saying do that, but if you're legitimately enthusiastic, it's just going to happen.
Yes.
And how do you get enthusiastic? You do what you love. Find that skill you love.
As well, I wanted to do a quick plug for the tech study Slack group that I'm involved in. A lot of the audience here is a part of it. There are people who are not. This is a fantastic place if you want to start to talk to people who are in technology, talk to people who are doing certifications, who are doing higher learning. Everyone there is, we all help each other out, and it's a great community. If you're looking for a place to start, this is somewhere great. My friend Adrian Cantrell had started this Slack group, and kudos to him for really bringing its vibe, and it's become something so great where it's not just about the tech, it's about the people as well, and we're all here to help each other in this world. We all start off from the same place, and in the tech industry, I've learned over the years that people are more giving than what you think they are. There's so many people that want to help, and so all you need to do is ask. But if you don't ask, you won't get any help.
Absolutely. And that's why I said find people who love this stuff. People who love stuff want to talk about it. They want to share it with you. Be the beneficiary of that.
Yes, agreed. All right. Well, listen, we're coming up onto the hour. And so I just wanted to thank you, Nab, for coming on the show. You've given us a lot of great insight. What is the best way for people to get in touch with you?
I'm definitely active on LinkedIn. So anybody who wants, you can definitely approach me on LinkedIn. As well, I'd recommend taking a look at the cloud computing program at U of T in the School of Continuing Studies. It's the program I've created. The website explains a lot and probably provides some info in terms of, just the philosophy that I bring. But anybody who wants, please get in touch with me on LinkedIn anytime. As Anthony and hopefully some of the rest of you can tell by now, I love to talk about this stuff and I love to share that love with people.
Amazing, amazing. Well, thank you again, Nab. Thank you to everyone who has tuned in to watch. I appreciate you guys. Keep on striving, keep on learning, and we'll see you next week. Same bat time, same bat channel.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you, Anthony.
Thanks.